What's up, everyone? Tag a friend and let them know we're about to get into it.
Welcome to the SpeakHer Podcast with your host, Camille Essick, the podcast where creators and innovators connect. Let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm your co-host Jonathan. Camille will be here shortly. Before we begin, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe.
Keep the SpeakHer Podcast ad-free. Scan the QR code and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps us ad-free as we continue to bring you conversations impacting the community and the culture.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Please share this and tag a friend who needs to hear this.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the SpeakHer Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. What I need you to do right now is hit that notification bell and subscribe. Follow me. I'm across all streaming platforms such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. I have lots of new music out since Jhalen has been here. We now have music available on Tidal Music. I'm so excited about that, as well as music videos as well. If you missed this past Friday, I did my first Top 5 Friday. So what I did was I reviewed the dashboard, all the analytics, and I found the top 5 videos that you, the viewers, have been watching, and we created a top 5 countdown, and we'll probably do one like every quarter. I don't know if y'all remember, like back in the day, watching Uncle Donnie Simpson on BET on Fridays. So we hit the top 20 countdown. I was like, hey, let's do that. And so that's a thing that I've introduced, and that is there for the replay after this. Feel free to go to my YouTube channel and check that out. So without further ado, my brother and friend is back. I call him the next Tyler Perry. He is moving and shaking in all things creative arts, directing, writing, producing. There in Atlanta, Jhalen Daniels, aka Lil TP. Welcome back.
What's going on? What's going on?
It is so good to have you. I'm very excited. So how are you doing? How you feeling?
Doing pretty good. Taking it all one day at a time.
Absolutely. So those that are not familiar with who you are, just recap us, and for the new people, about who you are and what you do.
Yes. I am, like she said, multifaceted. I do a little bit of everything. Some stuff I do because I'm like, do I want to pay somebody? So I had to go do it myself, which is writing, directing, producing. That's my spiel in the film and television industry. So yeah.
Absolutely. So we're so glad that you're here. And those, if you're just tapping in, hey Megan, go ahead and hit the share button, tag some friends, and slide on in. This is going to be a great conversation for creatives and just those in the space as a whole. So one of the things I want to hop right in, and you and I, we chat, about things. Just recently, we just saw within, I guess, the last 72 hours, Paramount Plus announced they have grabbed BET Plus, and Tyler Perry sold his 25% stake in BET Plus. A lot of people, I checked my app today to make sure I could still log in. I was like, wait a minute.
You got the June.
Yeah, we have the June. So, and how important ownership is, and being a stakeholder and having your platform, and how important that is. So let's kind of jump into that and just share your thoughts on the importance of that, because I don't think a lot of people within our community really understand. They're just so focused on being viral. And I'm trying to drill into us that it's more than being viral, owning your content, having legacy content, long form content. And so those are some things I really want to hop into tonight.
Right. Absolutely. So what you want me to talk about the Paramount?
I mean, because I think to me, I feel like being stuck on viral is not enough. And right now we're seeing so many changes within the social media space, ownership space. We're seeing pretty much birthing of social media conglomerates. And as Black people, how it's important for us to own our content, our platform, and be able to control our narratives.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, I'm glad you asked about the Paramount BT. I didn't think we was going to talk about that tonight, but I'm glad we talking about it because I've seen so many people, sharing it and everything. It's like there's a huge misunderstanding of how that looks. Tyler Perry did not sell out. He did not lose like this big thing of ownership. BET was already owned by white people. I don't know if y'all knew that or not, but ever since like 2004, they've been owned by white people. They've been owned by a white organization. I say that.
It was Bob Johnson prior to when he sold to Viacom
Right.
and ended up selling. So,
And technically, BET never ever was ever fully black owned. From the beginning, Viacom was part owner. So they were really, really close friends. So Viacom was like, I believe, 50% owner of BT all the way from the beginning. So it's never been fully black owned. However, it's definitely lost, its black ownership since, the early 2000s. So about this whole BET, parent thing, Tyler Perry has been trying to, get his own network ever since the early 2010s. Around that time when he did the TV show Haves and Have Nots, he was literally in the middle of getting, his network was about to come out. And but he paused it and went to go help Oprah and, all that stuff. So with that, it's been pushed back. He's been trying to get a network all this time. So back in 2019, for those who went to his stage play, the last one, he had made an announcement about he was going to be starting his own streaming platform. This is before BET came out, and it was going to be called Tyler Vision and all these different things. And what happened was BET, was launching their platform. So they was like, hey, why not we do it together? We already are working together. Let's just create something together. And so Tyler Perry had 25% stake in the company and, pushing it again, okay, I'll push my network to the side. So now that Paramount has been, they have a new owner. Paramount had already owned BET prior to this because Paramount bought Viacom and all that stuff. So Paramount has already owned BET prior to the news that we just got. And now with that's happening, Paramount, said, okay, we got all these different streaming platforms under our brand. Let's bring it all into one house. I'm going to make it real quick. BET has about 3.5 million subscribers. We were like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Paramount has 80 million subscribers. So with that being consolidated, that allows, so many different things. Some people are like, oh, this is going to be bad, whatever. But what that allows is Black shows to be seen by 80 million people now. Mm-hmm. So prior to before, it had a very limited reach where you had shows that were doing, a million, all of Tyler Perry shows do over 1 million views per episode. But before it was limited because it's on this platform versus like if you see his Netflix streaming numbers compared to BET streaming numbers, drastically different because the reach and that's what it's all about. And with that, now that it's consolidated, that allows more Black creators to come in and pool. And my thing is, BET makes about $500 million a year. Let's put it like that. And if you're looking at that compared to Paramount and how much they make, how many billions they make per year, I would rather pool resources from a Paramount, even if that's only 5% of whatever how many billions they're doing, is still more than what you're getting at BT by itself. So, it has its, some cons, of course, it's like, oh, we don't have a single app anymore. It does make it a little bit more challenging for independent creators. But as far as on the other side, it helps because there's a lot of Black creators getting deals ever since this new Paramount, ownership from Skydance and all these different things and David Ellison. So it's a lot of there's people who ain't never gotten. I ain't even know some of these folks are producers. Like for an example, Tashina Arnold has a deal with Paramount. So it's so many different people who are getting deals post this acquisition. So that's all. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I think we're gonna be all right, y'all. But Tyler Perry still has a large deal with them. So we all right. We all right.
Yeah. And do you? And this is me. I feel like with that also creates more leverage for Black creators because, like you said, being pushed in front of people, discovery, and that can create more work down the road versus being pigeonholed to pulling from these same 2 and 3 actors. Because we were talking before and we were discussing some of Mr. Perry's prior works, like Have and Have Nots, and that really launched the career of someone like Tika Sumpter, right?
Yeah.
And first of all, I love her. She's very talented. She's very pretty. But then also the representation for the chocolate girls. And that's another chocolate face we get to see. Because sometimes when they cast a Black actress or Black actor, they're usually what I call the ambiguously Black person. But,
Right.
and so we need that representation. I think it's really important. So kind of sliding deep into the conversation when we're looking at platforms, also looking at the acquisitions between Warner Brothers and that, and so in their catalog, do you feel that we within our community as creators not really understanding the power of leverage as a creator?
Every day, I think we not understanding the power of leverage. As long as if you have to go through somebody else, of course, there's leverage is already being lost the minute you don't own it, of course, or you don't own any kind of infrastructure. So when you're going into that, that just changed the ball game drastically. But looking at everything that's going on, with Paramount and Warner Bros., Paramount has their plan that they're trying to do. They're trying to do something, different for the industry. And we all just kind of like playing it out and seeing how everything goes. But what these kind of things does is it creates new powerhouses, new independent people coming up. That's what these kind of things allow, because once you get to a point to where there's not that many places you can go for someone to pitch your content, or there's not many ways you can get in, the gate, there's now starting to be more gate kept again, which is a good and bad thing. So now that you have that, people end up creating their own, avenues, and that's the good thing. This is what's happening right now, has been happening ever since Hollywood has started. It's just happens every so many years. So it's a good thing, because it allows people like us to say, okay, let's put boots on the ground, let's figure this thing out, let's get together and do some stuff and make something happen.
Absolutely. In that leveraging space, we'll probably have to talk a lot offline about some things, but even where I was supposed to do some things last year, and I was just so nervous about it, and where we go to church and what we're getting as far as stepping out, and I was just like, I have to do this, and I don't know how, when, where, but it's just like, I know I need to do this. And one of those things, those nuances, is the leveraging and being in the podcasting space and the digital media space. And, some people are like, well, why are you doing, music, and why are you doing this? And it's big picture, right? And it's having to leverage my reach, because yes, podcasting is great. I love it, but everyone is doing it. So it's like, what is it about what I'm doing? How can I leverage that to stand out, to create another branch or arm of content that ties into what I'm doing? And so I found that musical branch to be my way to do it, because what draws everybody together? Music, right? And then that door opened for my music to now stream on Tidal. So if somebody's hearing me, they're like, okay, wait, podcast. And so it's another way to cycle people back into the community and the world that I'm building. And so with that, going into what you're doing now, as far as not just being an actor, but writing the scripts, producing, directing, what has that process been like for you, where you're like, okay, I can be both, and I'm not just a writer, I'm not just a producer, I do all of it?
Good questions. Good question. So as a kid, I always wanted to be an actor. That was my biggest thing. I like acting and I love business as well. So I married the two, and I was like, well, Jhalen, if you take care of business, you'll always have a job as an actor. So most times I usually put more priority towards the business side, because I'm like trying to get that thing up and running, and I don't want to have to, and I'm not just trying to make content for myself. So it's like, okay, so of course the business side takes over more, but right now, but when I realized I could do more, first studying, TP, of course, and seeing that how that works, I didn't start writing until just a couple of, maybe, I'm gonna say it like this, I probably ain't started writing for real until maybe last year, or maybe the end of 2024, because for long I was like, I'm not a writer. I tell people I'm not a writer, and even to this day, I tell people I'm not a writer, even though I am a writer. Don't call me to write anything. Because I don't do it for, it's just like, okay, I write, there's certain stories when I come up, I have a catalog of different concepts and ideas, and it's probably about 300 something projects on there. And so some of them I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get so-and-so to write this. But there's certain stories I really want to tell. So I was like, you know what? I just got to, let me see what I can do. And then I have a friend who's a professional screenwriter. Shout her out, my dog TK. She is amazing. And so anytime I have something like, TK, what you think about this? And she was like, you said you're not a writer? She was like, this got to be one. So, I'd be like, oh, I guess it's good. So, it was just certain stories that I really wanted to tell. And I love directing because it was directing and the acting. That was what kind of the lanes I started in. So, once I got into writing, I was like, okay, I wanted to tell certain stories and tell it a certain way. There's certain stories that I want to do with certain actors, like Taraji and stuff that I want to do with certain people. And it was like, the one with Taraji was the one that really made me like, Jhalen, who else can tell this story like this? So it was like, and the story, to this day, it still scares me.
Why?
Just because of how the level of writing it is. Anybody who I've ever told the story to, they understand it because it's such a layered film. And I was like, Lord. So, when I write certain things, I just be like, okay, let's see how this thing goes. And then I give it to people and they be like, this is good. What's the problem with it? And I'm like, you for real? So it's certain stuff I just wrote and did not even thinking like, it's like
like, why do we do that to ourselves?
I think that probably might be because what they call it, the
imposter syndrome.
Yes, and us. I mean, the industry is already tough as it is, but Black folks are even tougher. That's why I be telling people, like, especially in the award ceremonies, I'm like, we should be more proud that we got this Black award from a Black organization because we some tough critics sometimes. So,
and we're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah, we some tough critics. So it's like the fact that you got it from your own people really, really makes a lot of the difference. Yeah. But seeing those different things, and I'm like, okay, I don't really care about the whole, trying to appease everybody. I got a certain people I'm trying to talk to, and that's as long as they got it, that's all that matters. But like, you have these things of Rotten Tomatoes and critics. I don't really care about that stuff, but it's just like, okay, I don't want to write like, because certain stories is just like, this is so complex. And I'm like, I don't know, I want to do this anymore while I'm writing, but I'm like, I got to finish it. So, that's usually how that goes. But as far as the whole sentence, just seeing how that I can do everything that I want to, it's just like, first of all, who's going to stop me? So that's the mindset, who gonna stop me? So I just go ahead and do it. Yeah, who gonna check me? So, I go ahead and do it. And plus, like I said, in the beginning, sometimes when you do not have the money to pay the person you want to do it, you have to end up doing it sometimes. Because of course, I would love to get Tracy Oliver and different people, Lena Waithe to write a script for me, but no. So, you got to do what you got, what you can.
And then that's your writing credit, because when you start adding people, just like with music, when you add writers and it hit, everybody's going to want their percentage. And there's nothing like owning 100% of your stuff. And getting into critics, it's hard enough dealing with the world outside of our community, people that don't look like us, and the scrutiny. And I'm just like, why do we continue to do that? Like, it's already hard. It's already tough. All the frustrations. And we are so quick to nitpick and try to find everything that's wrong. And people don't realize everything it took for you just to show up, just to do that. And I've gotten to a point where you just really have to get the tough skin and just say, I don't care what people think. Someone's always going to have something to say. You're always going to have those people critiquing down to the very iota of everything that you do. Man, screw the algorithm. This is what I'm doing. Launch it, produce it, write it, whatever, and let the people catch up later. Because when you get that vision and that download and that momentum, like, hey, I have to do this now.
Right.
When you start focusing on all those other things, it takes away from whatever God has given you on that. It takes away from the creativity process. And it is knocking you down before you even have the chance to get started.
Yeah. It's really all noise.
It's noise
that's all.
Solution. Yeah.
Yeah, it is noise. And as long as the people who you're doing it for are satisfied, that's really all that matters. And especially with us, we have selective outrage, or selective rage, whatever you want to call it. Like, because we, someone can do the same exact thing, but no, I like them. It gets bypassed. So, it's just like, oh, this ain't even personal. And then some folks, it's fun to join in on, the hate train. So,
The bandwagoning is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, so you have a lot of people when that's the case. And, they say all this mess and then go home and watch it. And, watch it 3-4 times. So, you got, it's just noise. That's all. It's just noise.
I was, podcaster, so I'm constantly looking at different podcasts. And there's a guy on YouTube and he does cooking videos. And one of his videos from the pandemic had 1 million plus views.
Mhm.
And when I say the production was just, it was like early 2000s type production. And here I am working hard to make everything clean and professional. And I'm like, this dude put together, sound quality, visual, but 1 million views, and he's holding the phone and it's falling and he's cooking, and I'm like, no LED light, nothing. 1 million views. And I'm like, how is it that people can throw together? I've seen beauty videos, room dirty, box fan, chicken box on the dresser. So y'all, I got this new lace front, and killing the views, and here we are losing sleep, special effects, and it's just like, you know what? If they can do it and I care, let me do what I have to do and not worry about what these people say. And people gonna call you, text you, inbox you, nitpick, whatever. I'm just like, screw it, just do it.
Yeah,
Because
you got to.
the people that you're meant to, that are meant to find you and that you're called to, they're gonna find you. And a lot of people that really don't support you, they're just maintaining proximity so they can claim you when you make it, not even worried about them.
Yeah, nah. Because, it's like the dude who used to date Beyonce. Nobody cares.
I saw that on TikTok.
Nobody even knows him.
Sean Carter and what's that? Halle Berry was like, yeah, you look like the guy I used to date, whatever the guy's name was. And so now everybody's like trying to find him. I'm like, but she's a whole engaged woman to Van Hunt over. And it's just, but like you said, it doesn't matter. So yeah.
Yeah, nobody even knows the dude. Look, they trying to find him.
Right, if he even has social media. But anyway, what are one of the things you wish you could say to yourself as far as looking at where Jhalen is now, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, as far as creative you?
Say that last part.
What would you say to yourself, like the younger creative version of yourself? Like what would you say to him today?
What's crazy is it's two things. One of them will be like, probably take your time on certain things before you do it. But don't, of course, don't hesitate on, certain things, but just like observe a little bit more and then respond to certain things. And as far as business, I wish I would have known some of the stuff I know, because I probably would have had certain things already. But you get it when you get it. So but I definitely some business advice on certain things, like just on how this industry works and how I would have approached it. Certain stuff I would have done earlier. Just even like how I approach, how I make the content. Probably would have created more stuff. Told myself go create more stuff. But we here now. We here now.
Yeah, I know we hear a lot about representation as far as Black women within on screen. What are your thoughts about the representation of the brothers? Like, do you feel like you have like with women, you hear about the Sapphire character or the Ruby character, but what about representation of men, particularly Black men now, in comparison to maybe 10 years ago? Or where do you see that representation going in the future for men that look like you?
I would like, I said before I even kind of fully dig in that, I really would like to see more whenever we get to do projects. I would love to see us get more, whether it's men or women. I really would love to see us get to be able to do, a variety of roles. Especially Black women, you're playing a mama or auntie or somebody's wife. And not really getting to play these roles or different things that really stretch you. Like where you see some of these larger actresses, from other cultures, They get to play this stuff that nobody would ever thought they could play. But I think that, that comes in ownership, of course, being able to control your own narrative and put yourself in the kind of stories you want. Now, I will say for Black men actors and all that stuff on screen and different things like that, there is a little bit more variety, because, you can see a Black man playing a spaceship movie and, lead it. And they get that kind of thing. So of course they might not get paid with as much as they really supposed to get paid, but it's real. I think it's really just being able to get to see more, range in what we get to do and the kind of stuff and doing things that, are not normal to our culture, but that goes back to our culture too. Because sometimes we can't do stuff because they're gonna be like, that ain't believable. It ain't supposed to be believable. It's a fairy tale, So I be thinking about certain stuff like that too. So I'm like, because we be trying to make certain things, and then Black people like, that ain't believable. It's a cartoon.
Isn't that a limit to our mindset as a community to say,
absolutely,
why not? Why can that not be believable? Because when I look at Black men, for example, with parenting, not saying all, but a lot of the Black parents I see on social media, especially if they have boys, when they're being able to just barely walk, I see a lot of the fathers automatically giving them a basketball or a football.
Right.
And your child is 3 years old and you've got this little tight, whatever, brand it is, basketball goal, trying to make your son shoot. Or you have your son out in the yard making him run for 40. I'm like, he just teething. Like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, what about introducing your son or daughter to other things? I think girls get more introduction to other nuances, but for boys, it's automatically sports or it's rapping, rap this bar. And I'm just like, what about the other parts of what you can do? And so when I look at an actress such as Viola Davis and you look at her catalog, she's been the president of the United States. She's also been the woman king, and then she's been Annalise Keating, this powerful attorney. Just like when I look at Kerry Washington on when she did Scandal, like this Black woman really ran the United States, and the president was just a figurehead. And she was her and her parents were actually, the three of them were running the country, and that was what they say was pulled off some actual things. And so when we look at our scope as far as representation, I mean, you say, and I know as a community that's not believable, but I think that's a fallacy of our thought set of psychology as a community, that we still have this thought like for us that's not possible, when in actuality it is. And that's why it's important for us to have these conversations, have these platforms, have these spaces, and for someone like you to write the stories to stretch our view of ourselves to say, yes, that is possible. And that child that sees your play or your movie may be the mind that ends up doing that in real life because that inspired them.
Yeah. I mean, and even on the stuff that's, it's being able to imagine. A lot of us can't imagine. Like, my dad rarely dreams, and I'm talking about like when you go to sleep and have a dream, like rarely. And my uncle is the same way. He can count how many times he's dreamed. And there's so many people who do not have any sense of imagination. And because of course, like, when we play like, real figure roles, but even just like some of the fantasy films, like there's certain fantasy films that I came up with and I'm like, oh, I would love to do this, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to casting and doing it for a certain culture, you're based around a certain culture, it's like, okay, you gotta be a little more strategic. That's why I even think about like with Princess and the Frog, movies like that. That thing was a cartoon Tyler Perry movie. And they had to really put I love that movie. That's my favorite Disney movie. But that movie is, is so real life-ish. The only thing that was fantasy was when she turned to a frog. Yeah. So, but even, there's so many constraints that we have to put on our films because it has to be believable for our people, for them to be like, I'll watch it. But if it's not, it's like, we ain't watching it. So it's like
then Avatar can make billions, and Avatar is so far-fetched, and I'm like, what's the difference? And when we look
at the target audience,
the the Black Panther, like, to me, even though it was more of like on the Marvel scope, but to me, I was like, this in the mind of movies, this is a real thing because what we've created has influenced the world. And even though,
Hmm.
yes, vibranium and all that, but still, I think it really showcased the superpower of who we are through, you know, um superhero, genre, but a lot of true nuances. Or um what's another one? You look at Captain America, and people felt the way, when they switched Captain America, and they were like, "Whoa!" Or you remember the whole uproar when they were considering Idris Elba to be James Bond?
Now I
That
ain't
was
gonna hold you. I'm all cool for sis, but I didn't see the point of switching James Bond. We can just end him. Either end
and
them.
him.
How about
No,
we just Idris can get his own character? We let that man stay white and he can get his own
but that's
character.
but that's but that's the point I'm saying. It's like it's
Yeah.
okay, but when it's flipped, then it's an issue, and that's one of the things that you even brought up as far as those constraints, and it's like, well, why not? And
Mhm.
even when Viola Davis and even Angela Bassett, they've both been presidents of the United States in movies. But look how long it took for that to happen because people weren't ready for it. Even when Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman, or Jamie Foxx, I think it was White House Down when he was the
Hmm.
president, and it was like black men is president. And so we're slowly pushing it, but in ways where it's palatable for people. And it's just like, no, bring all of yourself into the room and let everyone adjust.
Yeah. It's because we would think, for a long time, we would think, oh, it's, or they, the other coaches didn't like our stuff. Well, that's why, Netflix is a blessing and a curse because it proved all of that wrong. Because a full black film that is based around black culture can be number one in 80 countries that are not just countries in Africa. So, that helped dispel a myth, just about, oh no, people don't want to see these kind of films. It's niche and all that stuff. It's like, no, that show, like, no, people want good TV. Now, of course, you got some folks out there who, who a little off, and they still live in the 1932, but it's a very good number, a large mass of people who will come and watch projects that do not display any uh white or Asian, or is strictly black, and they will come and watch it 4 or 5 times with us. So it's just about also we like the theme of tonight is definitely ownership, being able to own it so you can own your narrative and put those kind of stories out as much as you can.
So in the space with you, in the art scope, this conversation, which I've heard particularly from the black male actors, how they have felt about British actors taking roles away from Black American male actors, the availability of work and projects, and how it's already hard. And now we're seeing like this migration of British actors. Even some of the shows that I've seen, I was watching, oh gosh, was it BMF? I think it was like season one, and the actor, and then at the end, we were like, I didn't know he was British, or
Yeah.
Snowfall, or
Lamar.
Lamar, like, what?
Mhm.
Or you look at, you know, in the beginning of Idris Elba, I didn't know he was British. I didn't find out until later. I was like, oh wow. Or Dem was it, Idris Damon, whoever. And so Dempsey,
Dempsey
yeah.
Idris,
So
yeah.
it's just like you're seeing this, or even with the actor that was in Black Panther, and he was one of the
I know you're talking about. I cannot say
him,
his name,
yes,
but
he was
yeah.
in Get Out, like
Hmm.
British. And so we're seeing this trend. And so where do you think that lies as far as um work and availability and product of inventory, theatrical inventory for Black American actors versus the British or even African? Like, how does that come into play?
I think because I definitely know what you're talking about, because they're not even the only ones. It's so many more, especially there's a huge uptick in it. And I think a lot of that falls in on trying to reach that country that they're from, even though it might not be a UK based film or the theme might not, but they know that talent came from there. So, they're able to draw more people, and a lot of, today we live in a world right now where the industry is like very big on people who have their own audience. So, it's like, oh, people would definitely support somebody from, that's kind of how it is in every country. Really think of like Hispanic, or Latin communities. If somebody from the Latin community, even if they was like decently known in their area, if they do something, on an American project, they're gonna come and support.
Leverage. That goes back to leverage. Like you look at Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
All of the communities that support him, like Super Bowl, one of the highest watched because you have a Latin artist on a major platform. So yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna come and support. So that always changes now. As far as it's enough stories being made. I would say I would like to see some of these projects. If it's supposed to be somebody from the hood, it's some good contenders out here, and y'all finding people who don't even know how to spell hood. So it's, I don't know, but
some of your greatest talents come from the hood. Like some of your best NBA players never make it to the NBA that are on the court, now, and whatever reason they didn't make it. And this is kind of a sidebar, but I was watching or listening to something, and they were like, why is it that certain sports don't have as many of us playing? And they were talking about baseball versus now and then, and they were just talking about how expensive baseball is, for example, and the practice, the equipment, and the placement of baseball fields if you want to play. And so kids that are not exposed to the sport from our communities, so the likelihood of them being placed in baseball or golf or lacrosse or certain things, it's access to the facilities and the expenses of that from a child, like Little League or whatever. And so by the time they get to that level, parents can't afford it. If single parent family, or if there's two parent families, it's just not within the budget. But then other families have the means and the resources where they have that other discretionary income to do that.
Right.
And when you look at acting and writing and directing, how many of our kids are in theater and acting classes in junior high and high school, or take a class in improv or whatever in college? Because a lot of people right now are going back to wanting to be viral, want to be a social media influencer, but not exposing to their child to other nuances within other industries to say, hey, this may not be forever, but then what about this over here? Have you thought about directing? Because you can act, but truth be told, if it hits, that director, the producer, the writer, just like with music, you can sing it, but the producers make the money.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about exposure to the generations as those coming behind us, to the arts, to the writing, to the directing, and what do those opportunities even look like?
Going to starting school. If that's, I know, like being able to do like when they have like all the extracurriculars in high school and different things like that, and people get to try different stuff. I feel like that's a great entry point. I know a lot of people that I was in high school with got put on to film and television because sometimes they might have that when you're doing your lectures and all that stuff, you had, for our school, we had to have or our state, well, that county, whatever, you had to have like 2 years of like 1 or 2 years of like some form of like media, whether it was film and television or graphic design, something that it had to be one of those that you had to do. So a lot of people, had to take this class and end up liking it and enjoying it and then going to college for it. Mm-hmm. So, starting from the school, because, some of these students don't know what they want to do. So being able to have those programs in the school that allow them to try things out, I feel like that's a huge, huge advantage. And it'd be great if more schools could do that. I know, like, one of the plans that I eventually have is, as things progress and grow, and is being able to, have some kind of program that schools can, bring to their schools and all that stuff. And we can kind of pour certain things into it, and allow people, to allow students to come in and learn and see what things are about. They can do field trips, come see the studio and all that stuff, and just get to see. If you don't want to do it afterwards, that's cool. But you got to see it and, try it out and say, okay, this is pretty something I might want to get interested to. But it has to, it really has to be from the outside, because the school, a lot of schools aren't concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
They just trying to get them up out of there. And
just blunt. That is the truth though. Like they just here, graduate, thanks for playing,
Yeah. And then, these so many people, like I've seen some very talented individuals, not that, these aren't real jobs or anything, but I've seen so many times of people who are working in fast food, such gifted people. And ain't nothing wrong with, fast food, but when you have a gift, now it's a problem. So, seeing that, I've seen people who did start. There was a guy who went out of school, a YouTuber, and he was pulling in 6 to low 7s on his videos in high school, on like his YouTube channel, all that stuff. 6 to 7 figures of views on his YouTube channel in high school, and
wait, not 6 to 7 viewers?
So 6 figures to 7 figures for viewership.
Like, what?
In viewership, not money now. He ain't pulling money in.
Still, that does equate to checks, but that's a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah, because he would come to school, when them checks was coming in. But now I believe is the last time I saw him, he was at Firehouse Subs. And the thing is like, okay, knowing, what, and especially being the place where we are, nobody else was doing that, in Florida and all that stuff. You're living with a lot of seniors and things like that. If there was something that he could have saw in his own environment that could have shown him, oh wow, I can do this, and this is not just some hobby thing, and I can actually take this serious and multiply this, then of course his results could have been different. But after a while, he just treated it like a hobby. So it eventually faded out, versus saying, okay, what's the next thing for me? And then and I believe also being able to stay out of trouble. When people are a part of, something that's positive, it helps them stay out of trouble. And that's what's missing. So, that was another thing that kind of went into, where he's at now is, kind of getting into trouble. So it's like all those different things, but having something in the community that people can be, exposed to, and that can pour into the students and all the young folks, that make a drastic difference.
Yeah. And that's why we need men like you in this space to kind of carve out that path, be the blueprint, so someone behind you can follow in and go, oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I am bringing in the 6 and 7 figure views, and this is where I can take this with. This is where I can go with it, because we see a lot of influencers now that have learned to take that leverage, and now they're getting brand deals and sponsorships, or it's even launching them into other spaces. But they have to have the blueprint. And even right now, everything is cyclical. And at some point, and we're starting to see it's going to plateau. So after this, how do you bump it up from there? How do you create the legacy content and the long form content? When you look at someone like Joanne the Scammer, and then, but I do remember him saying something about he had mental health things going on. His mom had passed away, and he just pulled back from it. But we have other people that they became the social media phenom, and then like, where are they now? And not having that mentorship, that circle to say, okay, how do we utilize this to max it out? You look at Jackie Aina, where she started out being one of the OGs in the world of YouTube beauty tutorials, and now she is like a beauty mogul, and having that space and platform to launch up. And it's like, how do you have the plan? Where do you get the plan from? Where do you get the circle of the people that can help push you to the next level? And that's why having you to show up, having you to have these conversations and to write, maybe it will help other people coming behind us, or even horizontally, within our space to say, hey, let me not just throw this away. Let me think about this and continue forward because you don't know what doors it may open down the road.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, even now I will say there are certain people who started at a certain time. So for some people who are comparing themselves to them, that it was a different time.
It was, but we're in another
time.
pivot right now with AI. Like we're in another technology pivot even now.
Definitely is, and so it requires a different blueprint because of even in the film industry in 2018, 20 through 2020, the streamer platforms were snatching up all anybody's content, and anybody could have got something sold. But that's not the case now. Everything's in-house. They don't need help. They're not looking for content. They're looking for stuff that's gonna move that bottom line. So, but it requires, same thing. Somebody had to create a blueprint. Then yes, it might have been easier during that time. And right now it may be a little bit more challenging because it most definitely is. It definitely is much more challenging right now to get certain things going, which is,
It's saturated now.
Yeah, very saturated. And then, for the social media space, of course, it's extremely saturated. But on the film and television side, the doors are closing again. Mm-hmm. As far as being able to get something made, things are a lot more challenging now. And it's a lot of hoops and hurdles. I was doing a project, packaging a project back at the end of last year, and oh my gosh, that was so annoying because this person's not big enough. I'm like, but she just her film was number 2 on Netflix. I mean, I think she's doing all right. Oh, well, if you want this kind of budget, you might want to look for somebody like this, or you want to go for somebody like that. So you have all those different things that make things a lot more challenging right now. So which is why, I was like, you create my own. And that's where you get into talking about, a blueprint. Sometimes you got to be the blueprint and not, look for one.
It's hard.
So,
it's so hard.
That's one of the things. I'm like, there's so many projects I'm trying to get done, but I never was a big fan of, having to ask somebody. So, I've been going through a lot of no's. And I was talking to, a peer, and she's like, Jhalen, 100 no's to get your one yes. And I'm like, this is getting annoying.
Yeah, because especially on like 89, the 89th no.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm already at 100, but whatever. So, it's all that. But, having to be able to, keep doing, and you're literally trying to figure this thing out. So I had to go back to what I knew how to do, and that was creating myself. Yeah. I started like that. So, it was, okay, go back to that, because trying to go through this traditional route of doing stuff, it ain't getting you nowhere. So, and you just you keep getting close, and you're like, I don't really tell too many people about it other than my close people, but
yeah.
Do you know how I almost want to say how heartbreaking it is to be telling people, hey, get ready. We got this thing. Somebody, literally this one particular project, the one last that we're working on. I mean, I was talking to the writer today about it, still trying to get, it going somewhere and all these different things. And you're going from, this person just told me, Jhalen, set your budget around $1 million. This is what they're going to pay for, blah, blah, blah. You do all this stuff. You got to call people. I didn't even know insurance was this much. Insurance is going to be $42,000. Okay, cool. How much is this going to cost? All these different things. And you're doing all this, got to call these people. Hey, you ready for this? Just the dates. And then it's like, put a pin on that. So, it's like, you then got to do this again. Let's go to it. Okay, well, right now is not the time. It was a Christmas film. We have to shoot it during a certain time. So that season is over. Okay, let's kind of move until we can come back and do that again. Let's work on this thriller. Doing this again. Oh, right now we only looking to work with certain budgets around this. So y'all want me to do this thing for a Chick-fil-A sandwich and a handshake? Not going to happen. So it's like this constant resetting and trying to go to the next thing. So it's like, you know what? Go back to what you know. Do it yourself. And don't even try to go. Don't try to go through the back door, no window. Go through the roof.
So in that, with the disappointment, managing the disappointments,
Mm-hmm.
how are you managing the disappointments? And then what are you doing on the mental health side of yourself in that space, with the management? Because I went through a period where it had me in like a little basement for a minute. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And I cannot tell you when that shift came, but at some
Mm.
point it was just like the no's are gonna come. It comes
Oh
with the
yeah.
territory. And also having to filter out some people around me that are just like, how's your little podcast going? And always having to defend it. And it was like, instead of me putting that energy into doing that, let me just shift your accessibility to me, because you're not adding on, you're not helping, you're not even a subscriber, so it's like, let's um move you from Delta Comfort to maybe Coach. And
Coach and Spirit, not even on the
yes,
same plane.
we're all different places. Yeah, so it's just having to move those pieces on the chessboard. For you, how are you managing those moments where it doesn't siphon the creativity out of you?
So like I know for me, one, I couldn't say no to this if I wanted to.
Mm.
You know how our pastor always be saying, you threw in the towel and God threw it back to you. Like I don't even waste my time trying to throw no towel, because I know this is what I'm called to do, and then it's just the hardest part of it is not how I feel; it's watching people around me struggle.
Mm.
That is the hardest part. It's not even so much like, oh, I'm ready to do it, so I can go buy this and I can do. I'm cool. I'm cool. Wait, I was like, God, I mean, I'll go get me a 9 to 5. I'm cool until you ready to take this thing off. I'm cool, patient. I enjoy the process. I love it. I love learn. At first, you lose some money. You be like, all right now, because I've done stuff where I've lost money, and good God, and but now that I'm cool, I'm like, oh, I'm bet on it. Cool, we're doing it, and I'll do it before I blink. But it's because I'm like, for me, I can, I'm cool with waiting, and until it's time for it to happen. I don't mean I sit around now. I'm still gonna make sure I'm actively, sharpening my tool, learning all these different things. But the biggest problem is when I, talk to somebody and such a talented individual, they have to, go do DoorDash right now. Or they have to, they're trying to figure out, I had to go move on with, my parents. There are people who have won Emmys, which is the highest award you can win in television.
Yeah.
And they are, Instacarting. So when you have things like that, that is the most challenging part. I've seen, a guy who at one point here in Atlanta was making $9,500 a week. In the film industry, and he wasn't like the film. I'm gonna tell y'all now, the film industry, you get on the right side of it, they pay very well. He wasn't a huge position. This is a middle level position on a crew. Yeah. This ain't even in the office, and he was making $9,500 a week. And he's like, now he's on food stamps.
What?
Yeah, and he's like, I got like 5 kids. So all these different things is because. Time, you're moving all these different things. Nobody knew that this stuff was going to happen. And, okay, you can say for a rainy day, all these different things, that's cool. But when it's been 4 years, your rainy day can no longer help you with that anymore. That rainy day savings.
Yeah.
And then they're telling what kind of house he bought when he had money, and still having to pay that $2,000-$3,000 more. So it's all those different things. So, and then you can't just go find a regular job when you're making that. Like, nothing is, the average job is not going to pay that. So, seeing all of that, seeing, these, not even just people in the industry, seeing certain communities, where it's like, dang, they don't have this. We talked about, being underexposed, these are young Black men and young Black women being underexposed to certain things. And there's nothing you can do about it right now. That is the most challenging part of it all. Because for me, I can sit in my house, do a couple of things, my bills are paid, and I'm good. But for so many others, that's why it's like, that's why I never accept any Tyler Perry slander. Never, ever. Because yes, the man, far as there's certain stuff with certain movies who like, okay, TV, but because I'm there, I know why he did it, but it's being able, you're helping somebody. People, I don't know, people think this is not no Tubi movie when there are over 100-something people on his crew for each particular project. Right now there is 2 Tyler Perry shows shooting right now. That's over 300 people employed just on the crew. All these background extras that who work on these projects that do this as their life, as their livelihood. They're being able to pay bills from that. Yeah. So you have all of that. So it's like that is the hardest part, is trying to manage that. Like sometimes I don't even want to call certain people because I'm like, Lord, I ain't got no good news for them.
Oh
So,
man, but even with
that's the challenging
with the
part.
jobs, with the jobs, it's beyond just the crew. But look at all the businesses around the studio, because our church is literally like the exit away.
He the reason why the church property taxes is high, but they ain't got to pay him. So look at that, huh?
Yeah, and so the businesses benefiting from that, restaurants and catering, and even the grocery store or a local gas station, because oh man, I gotta go to work. I need some gas. Let me stop at this gas station right here that's around the corner from the studio. Or so it's beyond just the studio, but it's just state of Georgia, because they don't just film always right there in Atlanta. They go out to other places, and I was watching Ruth and Boaz, and they filmed that right outside my hometown, Nashville, in Pelham, Tennessee. So look at the money that little small town made. And so because of what he's done, I can't tell you how many other studios, the Assembly, because he inspired those people. So now the Assembly is right there in Chamblee,
which he is actually a part owner on. Little secret, that most folks don't know.
Come on, T. And so so it's inspiring other directors and creators to build studios. I was watching something on the news, and now there's another studio being built in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they said the reason why they're building it is because Tyler Perry inspired them. And so where for so long where Hollywood was gatekeeping, and because Tyler Perry, this black man, had this dream. Now you have Cat Williams. Now he's purchased a base, and now he's creating a campus for students to learn AI and to record and to film, and he just purchased it. So it's been a domino effect, and as you say, people can slander Mr. Perry, but look at what it's doing for economies, not just for Atlanta, just for Georgia, but for other states and communities that will go forward. And we see even how it's benefiting right there where we are, even in East Atlanta, with improvement of interstates and highways and roads and things like that, because he's there. Now they're beginning to invest the dollars for basic resources when that part of town for a while was ignored. And now you have to pay attention.
Yeah. So, that's the whole thing, is being, when people have, they have the question, what is success to you? And everybody has a different answer. My answer for success is always when you can be an answer. That is the biggest thing. When if I can't give you the money for it, I know the person who you can call. I can do. I can make this call and make it happen. That is my definition of success, is when you can be an answer, and that's not just regarding stuff in film and television. If our dear friend Adelia, she's like, Jhalen, I'm trying to do this thing for when she does the stuff with her sister Hype Scribe bunch, and she's like, oh, I'm going to Africa again. We say, oh, we're gonna send you $1 million. Like, hopefully that can do something out there as well. And being able to do those kind of things, that is the kind of stuff that I really look forward to doing. But as far as, like I said, that's just managing that is just it's keeping cool, and just like, okay, the no's come along with it. You have to you got to get there. You're gonna get there one day. You got a lot of time to get there. It's gonna happen, but it's in due time. But it's building blocks.
Absolutely, man. That time, it really goes by. And yes, we are very proud of Jhalen. Any chance I get, I always tell him, social media posts or whatever, like, I'm so proud of him. And then even talking to Adelia, and be like, girl, no, like, is he cool? Like, so it's just, you're inspiring a lot of people, because even in some of our conversations that we've had offline, it's made me think like, maybe I need to reconsider that. So we want to say thank you just for showing up and being present, because you don't know that your presence may inspire the mind that changes the world. So you don't ever know. But before you do, also, congrats. You just posted something. Please tell us what that was about. Like, that was so cool. Like, just kind of fill us in on what that was all about.
So, for one, I shot a movie back in September. Oh, that's our pastor. Hey, we love you, Pastor.
Hey, Pastor Mark. Oh, wow. I didn't even realize he was there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pastor. Really appreciate you.
But no, I shot a movie back in September. And that is just finished, like it just got completed yesterday, like complete post-production. I don't have anything to do with when it comes out, but I just directed it and kind of one of the producers on it. But okay, I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? If anybody remembers, back January last year, me and Adelia shot an interview. You know, we did an interview special with the former Disney actress.
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
And what's crazy is just like how the people used to, like, we talk about this thing where God doing stuff. He's on the street. He's in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
That same person we just interviewed, her show just got picked up by BET. So I got to shout my girl Raquel out. But just trying to figure out, okay, what's this next thing? We did a thing with Adelia, and I was like, okay, got to put this out. Where is this going? So now I'm like, okay, what's this next project? And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, going through all this, trying to pitch shows and pitch movies, and talking with, I was thorough, I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't never been so happy to hear no from certain people, like to be able to talk to certain A-listers and their teams and all that stuff in these large companies, even if some of them said, not right now or whatever. Just the fact I was like, we're having these conversations with you is good. So going through all of that, and then I'm like, okay, what can I do? Tired of hearing these no's, even if it's coming from some of y'all ain't big enough to be telling me no, but whatever. But so I'm like, what can I do? So I was like, okay, let me do something with what I can do with what I have, And I was like, okay, let's come up with a project, and it's unscripted. But I wanted to do something where, crazy enough, it's kind of talking about everything we've been talking about tonight. It's called Currently in Development. And I was talking to some friends. I'm like, I want to do something where we can all just kind of like talk about what we're going through in this industry. People, see the highs and all that stuff. But I was like, let's talk about the real stuff, the down and dirty that goes on. So I was like, what can I do? So came up with this project, Current Development. So what I'm doing is bringing in different people from the industry, writers, directors, producers, actors, and they're just talking about it's like therapy for creatives.
Okay.
And it's like we're doing the
HBO.
I love
talking about mental health. I love that. That is
so it's just being able to talk, because that's one of the things. Is like because even no matter how many people I have in my life, I have certain people I can talk about certain things with, but nobody fully understands. Mm-hmm. Nobody fully understands. So it's like being able to actually take it all out. And I wanted to do it like HBO style interviews and things like that. So we're doing that, shooting season 1, April 18th. We're starting then and shooting right in Atlanta. I'm excited for it. I can't tell you exactly where it's going. But when all that's out, it'll all come out, but it'll be quick, which is why, I'm like, we're finna go ahead and shoot this thing quick. All our guests are already lined up. So it's gonna be exciting. And then
congratulations.
It'll be some other things that we're trying to do with this same show. Is kind of expanding it out into other things. So right now it's based off film and television right now.
Okay.
So it's being called Currently Development. Development is a phase, in the film industry when it's in the beginning of something. So I was like, okay, we'll spin it off and we might do a currently in session for our music people. So you have your studio session. So we'll do that same kind of format and spin it off. But this is just the beginning of this Currently in franchise. So that's what's next right now.
Yes. And I cannot wait to have you back for the follow-up on that. And every year I have my virtual conference with the brothers, Heart and Soul. So we'll bring you on for that. So just before we wrap up, just one more thing before we close out.
Before we wrap up, what are your key takeaways from our conversation, and where can our listeners find you on social media?
Key takeaways. Key takeaways is, for one, we talked about the ownership. This is something I've been screaming for the people who follow me on LinkedIn. I've been talking about leverage a lot, and just get into leverage. Whatever you got to do to get the leverage. Whatever doors you got to know, whoever you got to meet, just to get to leverage. And being an answer. you know, being an inside pastor, like we just were able to do at our own church, you know, with Hope Houses, being an answer, you know, so that's
so
one of
dope. I love
the
it. Yes.
biggest things. And I'm like, I can't wait to be able to help and expand that, you know, where it's like, oh, we got a whole complex now, not just a building, but a whole complex, you know, so being able to do it and being a answer, that's the hugest takeaway. And I'm not really on social media like that. I had to get on there to make that post right now because my friend got me doing this 40 days of no social media. I don't even know when to end. I'm just waiting for her to say, all right, it's over. But it's my name, Jhalen Daniels. It's the same thing on everywhere. Awesome. But I'll make sure I keep posting to keep everybody in tune to what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me, Jhalen. I cannot wait to have you back. I hope everyone got something from this conversation. If you missed it, no worries. The replay will be available later. I'm beyond excited. We are now 11.3 thousand plus downloads across streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
We're streaming now in 80 countries, 1,157 cities. So the SpeakHer Podcast is growing. We're available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. Please follow me across all various streaming platforms. Information is there, and I would love to hear from you. You can also send me an email at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Major things are coming out this week. And without further ado, this is Camille Asick. I'm host of the SpeakHer Podcast, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. You all be blessed. Good night, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.